Hello and welcome back. We are back live here at Invictus. As you can usually probably guess, lobby issues at the end of qualifying just before the start of the race. Sadly, kick all drivers out of the game. The grid starting freeze kicks everyone off the game effectively, and sadly when I get kicked off the game it completely collapses the stream. I can no longer stream. I have to restart the stream. So I'm very, very sorry to all those watching. And of course, Meg Glubby and Hulkenberg, our two admins, are getting the new session loaded back up as soon as they can. Of course, these guys thankfully have all the sort of skills needed to create a custom grid to get us back to the starting order it should be, which is a sigh of relief, I would imagine, for poor Hulkenberger, who qualified, I think, inside the top 10, maybe even, and was then put to the back of the grid for absolutely no reason. So a bit of a relief for him, for poor him, Scott. But it does, I suppose, at least give us an opportunity to maybe talk about how poor this game is. As you say, not many people particularly enjoying the new start to FIFA Formula 1 2020. I mean, what's your take on the game, Scott? Because I mean, we both say that qualifying feels a lot nicer. The overall handling of the game is a lot different. I think in terms of for drivers with traction control off, I think it's a lot nicer. I think it's a lot more even in terms of how you can apply the throttle. I think it's a bit more realistic in that sense. But I think teething problems like this, and of course we get them all the time. We had them on 2019, but teething problems like this and the lack of action from Codemasters with stuff like this really does. We will put a real grind and strain on a lot of people, and there's a lot of people who have already had enough of F1 2020.
Absolutely, and you can see, by the grid numbers that we're getting at the minute, people just haven't got, the energy to do it. And the problem is, it does affect people. People practice throughout the week, and they put in a lot of their own hours, home hours, to practice and do well because they enjoy doing it. But when it comes to this and things like this happen, it's just you just lose energy, your battery power goes down, and you can't be dealing with it. By the time the racing then finishes, it's 9:30, 10 o'clock, and people don't want to be doing it that late. But unfortunately, when things like this happen, we have to deal with it the best we can. The guys are all back in, ready to go. But yeah, I see what you mean. It's 2019 started the same. It wasn't as bad, I don't think, and there was still some very slight glitches here and there, but all in all, 2019 got better overall towards, not towards the end because it got worse, but sort of the midway through 2019, it wasn't too bad. But this game just seems at least once a week, on the streams, and twice a week on the streams, it just falls apart, and it's not great for us guys. It's not great for the drivers. It's not great for the viewers listening on on YouTube, etc. And we have to find more things to talk about. That's the worst bit.
Yeah, exactly. That's why we prefer to just sit here and moan. It's much easier to sit here and moan at Cody's. I mean, I don't know about you, so I could go on for hours about that personally. But we'll try and move on to cheerier subjects. And of course, the great pole position lap by Monster Blue in the Mercedes, much more like his form we saw earlier on in the season. Started the season off with a 4th place, and then went a great run of 4 podiums in succession: a 2nd place in Austria, 3rd place in Zandvoort, and then back-to-back wins in China and Abu Dhabi. He really looked unstoppable until a DNF in Monaco, and he did pre-warn us. He said how much he hated the streets of Monte Carlo and how that rung true, and he recovered to a 4th place in Canada, but lost out even more points to B-Stats, and it very quickly swung in 2 races from being right up there with B-Stats in the championship lead to now being 13 points behind. But he's got the pole position. He's saying it's very difficult to be in pole position in Spa. You have such a long run out of La Source through a Rouge and Raidillon along Camel Straight. You can find yourself, in fact, when we did the practice race here in Sunday, Scott, I think I was leading the race coming out of Raidillon. I was down to 4th place by the time we was breaking into Le Combe. That is how powerful the slipstream is. With a bit of overtake, with a bit of rich, if you've got low aero, you can find yourself making up 2, 3, maybe even 4 positions.
I think so. I think, like you said, yeah, it's all to do with the downforce, and the slipstream. Like we said on lap 1, Monster Blue, yeah, he's in the prime position on pole position. It's great, but you only need to get a slight wiggle on cold tyres for Royal Rouge. And you could be, you could lose a few positions here, especially with hard breaking point into chicane, you know, you could end up losing sort of 3-4 positions, as you did on the practice race. So, and then you did a dirty dive bomb and sent it up the inside afterwards. But that's not the point. But no, it is a hard first lap, I think, to get round, and it's so tight and twisty as well with some of the corners. So, you know, I wouldn't be surprised if we see a bit of wing damage and maybe a couple of cars running wide on the exits and going across the grass. But that's what makes our commentary more exciting.
Yeah, absolutely. We want to see action. We want to see great racing. We want to see good racing. But of course, at the same time, it's mistakes that make racing so human. And I think, you know, even in real life, I think, you know, we all want to see good, clean, hard racing. But I think there's definitely an adrenaline when it comes to having a little bit, seeing or watching a little bit of a shunt every now and then. And you know, I know how much you love the old phrase of rubbing is racing. I mean, you're a big fan of the old touring cars, and you try your best to try and maybe bring that little aspect of that to Formula One. But no, we all want to see close racing, and I think Spa really does give us that opportunity. And I think, you know, in some ways I don't really like the DRS round Spa, in a sense, because I don't know about you, Scott. The opinion you have on it is, I used to remember all the overtakes we used to see going into the bus stop chicane now. Some great overtakes, late onto the brakes, you know, diving it down the inside, throwing it around the outside. We don't really see many people going for those sort of overtakes into bus stop anymore, because people are so afraid of the DRS. Not so much down the home straight, but coming out of Radion down a Camel straight. It's like, well, I'm not going to make the move here, because then I'm just going to lose the place back again. And I think that is the downside of DRS, because it is so effective on this. Well, I mean, I've got a sad treatment of how effective the DRS and slipstream can be last night. But, you know, I think it does give better racing, but of course it does have its downsides.
Yeah, absolutely. And like you said, you know, going into the bus stop, you know, that's probably, in my eyes, the heaviest braking point on the track, pretty much. So, you know, you're going down, and like we said, but you are flat out. So you want to be late on the brakes, and if you want to get a couple of, you know, a move up the inside, that's probably one of the best places to do it. But as you say, you know, you come through turn one and back up the hill again, and they're going to drive straight back past you again. So it swings in roundabouts, you know, as we say, rubbing's racing. So if you're going to do it on the inside, you just got to give them the little hip and shoulder, I think, on the exit. You know, put them off a little bit, and you might gain a bit of an advantage. But I didn't say that. I'm a commentator. I'm not a racing driver. So, but no, absolutely, the guys look like they're all ready, back in again. Just waiting for everyone to get the setups ready. You know, choose the right tyres, same tyres they were on before. And hopefully, fingers crossed, touch wood, we'll be back racing in the next couple of minutes.
Yeah, I'm sure so. I'll give these guys just a little bit of time to get back on their setups that, of course, they had for qualifying. Because, of course, that is the one thing that, and tyre choice as well, it's one thing, as much as really well done to our admins of Mick Ludby and Hulkenberg, getting the lobby set up as speedily as possible and getting the grid set up so well. And of course, when you look at the sky, it's exactly the same colour as what it was before. It's an overcast, better dry race we are expecting for the total of 22 laps around this circuit. A 4.3 mile long track, 19 turns, 2 DRS straights. Safety cars are very popular around here. In terms of strategy, we're looking at probably soft medium for most of these guys inside the top 10. Those outside the top 10 looking to start on mediums, they'll probably be going pretty deep into the race. They'll probably do go to lap 15, lap 16 on the mediums. You can quite easily get 6, 7, even 8 laps out of the softs if you're kind to them. So I'm sure they'll be coming back strong later on into the race for those guys. And of course, track limits, you've got to be careful. Those fast corners through Pouron, through the exit turn 14, even up a Rouge, if you get a little bit of dirty air, a little bit of a snap towards the end of your first stint or the end of the second stint towards the end of the race, you can easily find yourself cutting that. It's an easy penalty to pick up. So these guys are going to have to be careful. Exit at turn 7 as well is another place where you really can find yourself picking up warnings, and of course no name as well. So there's plenty of plenty of corners for these guys to be wary of, and we'll see how everyone does. And another formation lap, and Hulkenberg back in his position of P12 there. Then, so he's not at the back, so I'm sure he's a little bit pleased with that, even if it does come with a slight delay, which is, of course, we apologise for. It's out of our hands. There's a lot of work goes on behind the scenes here at Invictus, and yeah, it's a real shame when these things happen. Also the stream as well cutting off is not ideal, but thank you for all those who have retuned back in and we've got one more formation lap to do, and I'm positive, I'm sure we will see racing and green flags to get this 22 lap race underway. But it'll be Monster Blue who sets us around this formation lap, getting himself accustomed back to the conditions under BSAS, just backing off a little bit more, maybe, who knows, just trying to play a little bit of game. He wants to get Monster Blue's tyres, and there we are. So soft to lap 8 or lap 10 onto the mediums. You can also do the hard tyres. If you pick up damage early on, the hard tyres should be able to get you quite comfortably to the end if you need an early pit stop, but otherwise they are probably about half a second slower than the medium tyres around here. So we will be seeing most people using only the soft tyres and the mediums. Tyre wear shouldn't be too bad around here for most of these guys, who are saying lap 7, lap 8 should be very doable for these guys. And of course these guys inside the top 10 will be starting on brand new soft tyres, so that's a little bit of a misfortune for those guys from 11th downwards, like Speedqueen, Hulkenberger, Sawyer, Samuel and SD Mats. They don't get the advantage of a brand new set of tyres, but of course they do have the chance to set their start of the race on mediums at least, and I'm sure they'll be trying to make up positions. Even so, McLubby starting inside the top 10, Mr. Steen inside the top 10, Simply Superman and McLaren P8, I. Frankland in his natural habitat are P7, and just in front of him is Hutari on the third row. Nightshades with a fantastic qualifying of P5. He's looking like he's really enjoying the second half of the season so far. Let's hope he can keep that momentum going. Bashiro, who has won the last 2 Grand Prix, is starting P4 after a good recovery last lap in qualifiers. Monster Blue trying to get all sorts of heat into his tyres, and very nearly doing a little bit worse than that, getting a bit of grass in his tyres, but I think he might just get away with it. And Roy Boy, a fantastic qualifying in P3. We know how entertaining he can be. We saw that in Monaco, and I'm sure he'll be all over the heels of these two. We know how quick he can be, the Dutchman. And Bistas, who has been Mr. Consistent. He has been on the podium 5 times, 2 of them have been wins. The last 3, or 3 in a row, he's been second place, so we'll see how we can do tonight. But we're not a great camera angle for these guys into turn 1. We'll see how it goes, but looks like we should be having green lights very soon. And there we are, if we ride a bod, we've got a fantastic view into turn 1. But Monster Blue on the left, Beastas on the right, 5 red lights, and we are off for round 8 here at Invictus. It looks like it's a very good start for Monster Blue, and he's going to streak into the lead. Void Boy and Beastas going side by side. You can see a front wing flying off in the background into La Source already. It looks like Void Boy might have got the jump on the Ferrari driver. Monster Blue is stroke away. Oh, is that Mashiro going onto the grasses? It looks like Beastas got his elbows out, and Nightshades almost pushing him up the hill. And it is going to be Void Boy who's going to be the biggest loser. Monster Blue is completely checked out. It's almost 4 wides at the back as Beastas is towing down the back straight of the racing point. He goes for it down the inside. He just about gets out of it. I think we saw McLaren on the grass. Nightshades is looking so racy. He's up into P4. I think Mishiro might even have damage after contact with the Ferrari. And Mr. Steen has moved up into P9 ahead of McLugby. And I think other than that, I think it's all been pretty steady so far, Scott.
Yeah, it has. I think I mentioned him again. I. Franklin lost his end plate there on in turn 1. He ran into the back of, I think it was Mushiro, I think. But yeah, Bisas really getting his elbows out coming out of the source there, and he put him right on the grass there. So there might be a little bit of annoyed AlphaTauri driver there. But apart from that, it seems to all be bunching up behind I. Franklin now. As he is losing a lot of time because of the wing damage, so they're now coming through. Now, like I said, these are the quick parts of the track, and Simply Superman on the grass trying to overtake I. Franklin there. They're side by side. It looks like he's just done. Oh, he's on the grass again. Oh, he's a rallycross driver now. We've got Mr. Steen coming around the outside. We said we want some overtaking into the bus stop, but he's going to try and do both cars around the outside, and he might have done it. He might have a little bit of wheel bashing, but he's just got it in the wrong gear on the exit there. But it was a good move there from Mr. Steen. I think very aggressive from him.
Yeah, that's a fantastic first lap then for the Ferrari driver. Ignore that, I think he's up into P8. See a lot of problems with Nicola. He's not in the lead, I can assure you. And this is not lap 3, this is lap 2. But the Haas driver has made up some good ground, and as I say, Ira Franklin then picks up early damage and tries to make the most of the hard tyres to go himself to the end. Got a yellow flag, and it looks like that might be Soy Samuel as it looks like he's lost it in the dirty air at the top of Radion, and it looks like it's a breakaway top 6 or 7 here then, because Mashiro, there, yeah, he has got a damaged front wing end plate on that left hand side then, but he's still just about keeping with his teammates, quite badly damaged. I think that must be at least a yellow on that front left hand side, so he's going to be losing a lot of time in this middle sector. Monster Blue has got himself a second gap to Roy Boy, which is absolutely crucial. You do not want to let your rivals inside your DRS zone around this circuit, because it is so powerful, as we know, and Hutari is giving Nightshades an whole lot of bother as well, just 0.3 of a second behind the sister car of the Red Bull, and Nightshades just about keeping with Beastas, but he will fall outside the DRS zone if he can't find another 0.2 of a second in this last sector. It's all very close at the back. It looks like no, that's not right. So Samuel's not more than 0.2 back. So oh, was that McGlubby?
Yeah, McGlubby had a spin there. So it's such a difficult corner. I've done that in a practice race on Sunday. It's a very difficult corner. If you clip the curve at the wrong angle, it can really throw the car around. It looks like that's exactly what's happened. Roy Boy's setting the fastest lap now, so looks like he has got the pace. And if you look at on board him, he's really caught up onto the back of Monster Blue. I don't know if Monster Blue's made a mistake or not, but he really has caught up to the back of him.
Well, it's possible the Mercedes made an error, because it looks like Roy Boy's gained about 2, maybe even 3 tenths on the Mercedes driver in the last sector alone, so it could just be running a very slippery car is that racing point. We'll see how it goes down the straight, 6 tenths a second behind. They do well to get a move done from this far back, but it's certainly not going to be an easy ride for the Mercedes driver. The Dutchman really fighting this one out as Soy Samuel retires into the pit lane, so it's another DNF for Soy Samuel, and real shame then for the Mercedes driver, who hasn't finished since China, I think it is. Just look back over my notes there. So real shame for him, as we've got a couple of drivers running wide. We've got some contact back there.
Well, I was just on board with Roy Boy, and he was millimetres away of hitting the barrier on the outside of No Name. He must have got a warning for that, but that was savagely close. He must have just skimmed it. Honestly, it was so close there. But we've got a bit of a battle coming on now. Hutari, go on.
Sorry, Roy Boy just had an absolute moment out of turn 14, went in the gravel, did well to hold it out of the barriers, but that's allowed Beastas to get the move done around the outside. And Roy Boy, after doing so well on the opening couple of laps, now dropped behind the Ferrari driver. He's gone into P3, and Beastas, and it's done the world of good for Monster Blue. He's now 1.5 seconds clear of his main championship rival, and Hotari's still stuck behind that Red Bull of Nightshade, so he's going to have to get the move done if he wants to get on the podium this evening, because it looks like Nightshade, he's keeping with these guys, but he can't quite get inside the DRS. What can Roy Boy do though, because Beastas will not have DRS on the Mercedes driver. Roy Boy is looking also fast as he locks up into the source, but that won't bother him too much as long as he can get the power down. He's only 4 tenths a second behind it, get a nice little toe up the hill into a Rouge, and if he can stay this gap about this far back, he should have a nice move, nice chance, or should I say, of getting the job done before Lecomte as he opens that rear wing. And you'll see further back, Hutari looks like he's finally making a move on Nightshade. So it's side by side. Roy Boy thinks better of it. Hutari's got the move done on Nightshade, so Hutari moves back up into P4, and yeah, a runaway Monster Blue, 1.7 seconds clear, but Roy Boy and Beastas squabbling behind is only going to help him.
Absolutely, yeah. The gap will just keep increasing now. Roy Boy made another mistake there into the right-hander. I've noticed Nightshade's went down to like 15% battery, so he's used all of his battery in these first 4 laps. So he's got to just try and let off that a little bit now, because he might struggle with it if he starts to lose touch of Hutari. You know, Mashiro is doing very well with the wing damage that he's got. He's doing very well just to keep in the DRS of Nightshade. So good drive here from Mashiro. It's a bit of a recovery drive for him, I think, this one.
Yeah, it'll be interesting. I think he will take a front wing change during the pit stops, just give himself a better chance of getting past that Red Bull in the second stint of this race. But he's doing well, and Simply Superman 2 seconds back to Mr. C, another 2.7 seconds back, so it's a little bit filtered out through the field after the top 6, and Beastas 1.8 seconds behind Monster Blue, so it looks like he's going to have to find a bit more pace on these medium tyres. It's just eking out just ever so slightly. Roy Boy doing well to keep very close to the Ferrari driver, has come across the line. 6 tenths of a second is the gap to the Ferrari man. It goes once again locking up that front right, won't matter too much as long as again on the throttle pretty nicely. A little bit of a correction on the exit, which might cost him just a little bit of time half a second back. He was about 4/10 of a second back, but he's just used a little bit of battery. And this is about how close he needs to be if he wants to get the job done. He's going to use battery. You can see there the little green bar as he now gets really into the slipstream. Beastas isn't going to defend. He knows it's early on, and the Racing Point goes back up into P2. So Roy Boy clearly enjoying Spa this evening, but he gets the tail out a little bit in through Lecombe. But he's got his second position back, and which is good news because he looks like a man absolutely determined to make sure that Mercedes in front of him doesn't get an easy ride tonight.
Absolutely, yeah, he's driving really well. And I must say, he loves a lock-up, this Roy Boy. He locked up in nearly every corner at Monaco, and he's doing it again today. Any heavy braking zone, he really does use that brake pedal really hard. He really stamps on that to get the car stopped. Yeah, and it obviously works for him. I can't stand the car locking up. I think it just unsettles my driving style too much. But Roy Boy is absolutely loving this, and you know, he's just got to try and just put a bit of a gap on Beastas so he's not under any pressure. Then hopefully for him, he can really push forward and try and catch back up to the back of that flying Mercedes and then P1.
Yeah, and I think a sensible driving there for the championship leader. Of course, Beastas leading the championship by 11 points from Mashiro, and he knows his closest championship rival is behind him. So it looked like a man not fighting Roy Boy. He knew it was early on in the race, and I think wise there just maybe let him go, just try and stick in his DRS, maybe save a bit of battery, save a bit of fuel, save his tyres, and come back at him. He knows that he's got bigger things on his mind than necessarily winning the Belgian Grand Prix this evening. But if he gets a good run out, he's 7/10 second behind, so he's going to have a little bit of work, a little bit of turn the old engine up if he wants to get the move done on this lap. But Beastas, I think, just taking it calmly. He knows it's a long race. Of course, it's such a long lap round here, 4.3 miles per lap. And of course, they've still got about 16 odd laps yet to go of racing. And of course, Roy Boy 2.1 seconds behind. Of course, an undercut here around here, Scott. He could well find himself gaining easily about a second if Roy Boy decides to try and go down that route.
Absolutely, that's what I was just about to mention. You know, the undercut does work quite well. If you can have a good in lap and you get a clear out lap, he really is in for you know, he could gain, you know, enough time just to throw himself back into the DRS zone of Monster Blue. So that could be interesting now. If we're getting to that point now where we should start seeing some of the cars or some of the guys on the soft tyre starting to dive into the pits. We know Roy Boy, he must be quite hard on his tyres with the locking up that he does, but he doesn't seem to be dropping back. He's flickering around the 2.4, 2.3 second mark, so he obviously has got the pace off Monster Blue in his race. He lost a bit of time through that mistake on lap 3. Yeah,
and fair play to Nightshade. He's coming back at Otari here. He's got back inside the DRS range. He's not letting that AlphaTauri driver go at all, and of course we know the top 4 are so far ahead in the championship. Roy Boy missed the first 3 rounds of the season, I believe, so the championship was never really on for Roy Boy, despite such great pace as he's shown numerous times since he's come back and in the middle spell of the season, and he's showing it again tonight, Roy Boy. And he's a driver who's got more than enough pace to be challenging for podiums on almost every single circuit. He's a real star in this F2 league, as we know from his overtaking in Monaco. I think really was a highlight of the season, was at least for both of us two, Scott, because he gave us such a great race to watch. But Nightshade to get himself up here with the top 4, and he's coming back at Hotaru here. But I'm going right on board with him. He's only 4/10 behind. He's using battery down this Camel Straight, and you can see he's used up so much. In fact, I think he's almost down to 0 there. So he's used a lot of batteries to get up here. But I mean, the top 4 have been such a runaway top 4 all season. He really does love this circuit, Nightshades, as his teammate picks up 3 seconds, because he's showing that punch for punch, he's got the pace to stay with these guys.
Yeah, as I said before we started qualifying, he has got the pace to be with these top 4. It's just been the luck, and I think he's done really well to stick with Hutari. You know, bearing in mind Hutari's got a little bit more battery, not a lot, but you know, Nightshade's had pretty much he was at 0. You know, to keep it there, keep it in the DRS, I think he's done really well. So, you know, hats off to Nightshades, and hopefully for him, you know, he can have a good race. You know, the luck hopefully on his side. I mean, you can see some good battling here, because they're not. This isn't really dropping Hutari either. He's fiddling around that 9/10 mark to a second mark. So these guys, because they're not battling, are actually just starting to creep up to the back of Beastas, and still Roy Boy is only 2.4 behind Monster Blue. So he really should. I thought we might see a couple of drivers in by now, trying to do the undercut, but Roy Boy definitely has good pace in this race. And in fact, the top 3, top 4, maybe even top 5 are all running around about the same lap times.
Yep, and Nightshades and Mashiro both come into the pit. I'm just keen whether to see if Mashiro changes his front wing. In fact, I can see a front wing change going on for that AlphaTauri driver, going right back on board with Beastas, who's just 4 tenths of a second behind Roy Boy in the racing points. So Roy Boy perhaps just struggling with his tyres a little bit. Monster Blue's been able to eke out this gap to about 2.4, 2.3 seconds as Beastas coming back at him. Does it go down? Send it down the inside. Going to go wheel to wheel. The championship leader going for a bold move. It's Roy Boy gets a real step out and it just forces Beastas off the road. Beastas holding onto it. He's going to come back and use his battery going down the hill and he sends it. Roy Boy going to try to hold it around the outside or give him the inside. For No Name, he's not quite there. Beastas turns the corner and he gets the job done. The championship leader moves up into P2 and that's critical for him as well. I mean, Roy Boy picked up a 3-second time penalty on the previous lap, so it shows how much the racing point driver was pushing. But in the critical phase, just before the pit stops, Beastas pulls a fantastic move out to get up into P2. But look how much he's lost now to Monster Blue. He's getting a second on these two, just from, is he then loses it on the exit at turn 13. He's then got a little bit deep in 14. Roy Boy might have another chance. He's going to come around 15, completely flat with worn tyres and dirty air. That will not be a nice feeling at all. Will we see them dive into the pits? Does Roy Boy try and get the move done? Even if he does, will decide he wants to come into the pit lane. Looks like Beastas is going to defend the inside line. He's going to make Roy Boy go the long way round. Roy Boy is going to try and hang it around the outside, but he tucks in behind the Ferrari driver, which I think is a good call, and he comes into the pit. All the top 4 have now come into the pits. We're going to have a look. I think Nightshades has come out in Mashiro, changing his front wing, has lost about 5 seconds. There's Monster Blue coming out just ahead of Beastas. And it'll be interesting now, does the Racing Point pit crew able to gain Roy Boy the position back on Beastas? There's Beastas, so not quite, and of course Hutari as well, not far behind. But look at Nightshades, he's coming through La Source. Has he done an absolute miracle drop here? And he's jumped, it looks like he's jumped one of them. Beastas is on the hard tyres, I've noticed, and Nightshades has pulled an absolute blinder out to go himself up into a net second position. So that 1 lap undercut, and of course pitting on lap 8, these mediums should be more than good enough to go to the end. He's going to have to defend from the Ferrari driver, but he's got himself up into P2 effectively. But Beastas, the championship leader with the DRS, and very quickly takes that position back as Nightshades is down to 0 battery again. So even though he's had a pit stop to recover some of it, it's not helped his battery too much. But this is a real opportunity for Nightshades. He's got himself into that conversation, hasn't he? Critically for a podium. He hasn't got a time penalty like Roy Boy, and he's got the medium tyres unlike Beastas. So the 2 drivers he's really racing right now, he has got an advantage over.
Absolutely, and that battling that happened there, between Beastas and Roy Boy, it cost them so much time. So they've got a lot of time to sort of pick up now. But Nightshade's actually got 2 warnings on the first lap, so he's got to be very, very careful now for the rest of this race that he doesn't pick up another one. So Roy Boy's also had another warning, so he's got to be careful that he doesn't throw up another penalty. And also, critically as well, Monster Blue has also got 2 warnings, so he's got to be very careful now for the rest of this race. So a few of the drivers at the front, really, you've got to be very, very careful now that they could lose a race here on penalties. Yeah.
And SD Mats then, he started on these medium tyres, and he's planning going a lot longer into this race. So it's going to be a real headache for Beastas, Nightshades, Roy Boy, Hotari, and eventually Mashiro. Mashiro's got to negotiate Simply Superman, who's actually jumped him after that front wing change. But Beastas got a little bit deep into turn 1, but if he get under power, there he is. He's using the battery. He's about 4 tenths of a second behind. He's got to be careful, because if he fit behind Nightshades, it's all over the bucket as well. And the way Nightshades has been using battery, his phone will be planted on the overtake button down this Camel Straight. But here comes Beastas. But look at that, Nightshades is going to make it 3 wide going down the Camel Straight. It looks like Beastas going to hold on to it. Nightshades is going to pull down to the inside. It doesn't quite make it stick on this occasion. Beastas is going to move up into 4th position. Nightshade is going to follow him through, and it's going to be Roy Boy who's next to negotiate. That McLaren driver is a little bit out of sync with the rest of the field yet to make his pit stop. Hulkenberger and Speed Queen further up the road as well. Our net race leader is getting stuck behind the three-time champion, and this is a critical phase of the race there for Beastas. He's 4.1 seconds behind. If he wants to make inroads on this lead, which he's going to find it hard to do on those hard tyres, he needs to do it now when he's stuck in traffic, because you'd imagine Monster Blue will not waste time dispatching of this Alfa Romeo.
Absolutely, no. He needs to get rid of them in a polite way. He needs to get past them. He needs to overtake him at a decent place, so not use too much energy either. But I have noticed Roy Boy is hardly using any battery. He's still on 50%, so he's got a lot of battery to play with. So I wouldn't be long, I don't think, with Nightshades and his battery using at the minute. I think Roy Boy could climb onto the back of him. With SD Matt's nearly losing it there. Roy Boy's going to the outside to go to the bus stop. Is he going to go around the outside? We will. Excuse me. We wanted to overtake it into the bus stop, and he has made it stick. It's a good move there from Roy Boy. Didn't lose any time either, and he picked up some DRS, which is good. And he's still within DRS and Nightshades. That's a good overtake there from Roy Boy. Yeah,
good race class. Right outside, using those fresher medium tyres to his advantage, and I think we might be just about seeing an overtake for Monster Blue. We saw him pass. Oh, he picks up 3-second time penalty. Beastas, who's in net second, does not have a penalty as yet, but in the dirty upper Rouge and Radion, he picked up a 3-second time penalty, but he does get his lead back. And what can Nightshades do? Stuck behind that Ferrari again, and not quite close enough to make the move stick. As we also saw Hutari, it looks like Mashiro has got the move done on Simply Superman, which is crucial for his race. Has he got the pace to catch onto the back of his teammate Roy Boy, Nightshades and Beastas, now with a new front wing of his form of his last two races, you'd say so. Oh, it's Speed Queen?
Yeah, Speed Queen lost it through no name, looks like. It's not like her to make a mistake. It's not very often you see that. I'm not getting any penalties pop up, so you'll have to tell me, but I thought Roy Boy might get a penalty for that because he won a little bit wide there, and he was already on 2 warnings.
Yeah, it's a second time penalty for Roy Boy going a little bit wide into Pouron after making a bold move around the outside of Speed Queen, coming into that corner. We also see Hutari squabbling all over the back of that McLaren. He's desperate to get the job done. I think he's using a little bit of battery to get past, and he's already got the move done before Blanchimont. So up into P7 for Hutari. He knows he's in danger of falling adrift of the battle for the podiums if he cannot get back on past the Alfa Romeo or Speed Queen as new fast up of the race then for Monster Blue. And looks like Nightshades might have just had a bit of a bad lap there because he's fallen outside the DRS range of Beastas, so maybe a little bit of a mistake could come under pressure from Roy Boy going wide on board with the Racing Point driver. And the pressure just relaxed on Beastas on this lap at least, and he might even be looking to get a move done on the Williams in front of him. He knows it will give him a good old advantage over the cars behind him. He's using a lot of battery, and looks like it could be easy, as Roy Boy likewise is going to do the same thing to Nightshades. I imagine Nightshades is running on fumes once again with battery, because that looked very easy for the Racing Point driver.
It was very easy. To be fair, Roy Boy using 30% down that straight. He was on 45% and he dropped down to, well, he dropped down under 20, so he used a lot there. But good move again. No time lost for Roy Boy. Has he got the pace now to catch back up with Beastas? Beastas 4.6 seconds behind Monster Blue. With all of this battling, to be fair, that was going on around the pit stop stage, they didn't really lose a lot of time to Monster Blue, which is quite fascinating. But it'd be interesting to see now. We don't know, there could be a safety car or anything like that, but at the minute, I hope I haven't jinxed Monster Blue for that. But at the minute, Monster Blue looks like he's got a nice comfortable gap and he can just drive his own race now with that 3-second penalty that he's got.
Yeah, but this is crucial enough for Beastas. He's 4.8 seconds behind, but you would imagine those hard tyres would become more competitive than the mediums in the real latter stages of this Grand Prix. So if he can keep sort of around this gap for just a little bit, and then try and close it down to just under 3 seconds, he could take this win on time penalty. So I'm sure he'll be calling up his engineer to maybe check on the drivers around him in terms of time penalties. We can see Roy Boy head here of Nightshades all over the back of that Williams for Hulkenberger. Hulkenberger's tyres were quite near the end of their stint, as looks like Mashiro's got the job done on SD Mats. So another McLaren he's passed, as Simba Superman also follows him through, as it looks like Roy Boy is getting super close to the back of that Williams through Radion. and it looks like Nightshades is desperate to follow him through. Looks like Hulkenberger might just keep the position. No, it looks like Nightshades has got the job done, keeping with this fight for the podium. Of course, Moibo's got 6 seconds worth of time penalty, so Nightshades doesn't have to do the job done on track. He can just stick there.
Yeah, you know, at the minute, you know, Bistas isn't walking away with that. You know, he isn't pulling away from Royboy that much. Royboy and Nightshades are driving. You can see from their attitude, they're driving very, very hard. You know, Nightshades wants his podium. You know, Bistas is about 1.3, 1.4 seconds in front of Royboy, so he can sort of drive his own race now. He hasn't got any pressure in front or behind him at the minute. So for him, like you said, he's on the hard tyre, so he should be able to just drive his own race, try and keep it around about this gap. And if there is a safety car or anything like that, you know, we could see a bit of a difference in strategies.
Yeah, certainly a lot of racing to go yet, and I Frankland down in P12 after a lap 1 pit stop. McGlubby a further 10 seconds back in P13. Those guys will be hoping for a safety car. I'm sure is critical for the likes of Monster Blue and Void Boy. That safety car does not happen, because of course when a late safety car happens, those of you who have got time penalties been a little bit lapse with the old track warnings, you're really gonna take a real penalty for that when the whole grid will really bunches out. But right now it's going pretty smooth sailing for Monster Blues, eking up that gap pretty close to about 6 seconds, so it's going to have to be a real effort for Bistas to close in that gap enough, as it looks like Hutari is going to be next in queue to make the move on this Williams, and he's almost making the move before the DRS zone as he goes down the inside, and it's going to be job done well before the braking zone for the AlphaTauri driver. What about Mashiro? It seems it's going to have to be a little bit more patient when it comes to trying to dispatch the Alfa Romeo of Speed Queen, but even so, Mashiro really is about a net P6 right about now, with Hulkenberger and Speed Queen still ahead, yet to do their pit stop, so we'll get that position eventually. And Nightshade's just about keeping in range of the DRS of Roy Boy, but something I thought would probably happen is, I'm a little bit surprised, is that we're not seeing Roy Boy all over the back of Bistas. Bistas is doing a really good job on those hard tyres, even though they are quite a bit slower. You know, he's holding his own against the medium runners as Nightshade picks up 3 seconds.
Yeah, absolutely. I actually did find in the practice race on Sunday, it wasn't, it was actually last night, TL44S went onto the hard tyres, and it was difficult to catch up with him. You know, I was only probably gaining a tenth or two on in my lap, so you know, if you're more confident, like I'm more confident on the hard tyre than I am the soft tyre, so if you're confident on that tyre, we've got to move up the inside. Oh, very close there. Mashiro going for a bit of a switchback on Speed Queen. Speed Queen diving into the pit, so he made that plate up anyway, but that was a very, I thought that was really a nice audacious move there from Mashiro. But back up into P6, 3.4 seconds behind now from Hutari, his teammate. He's got to now sort of find a bit of pace now to try and catch up to the back of him until he can gain some points out of this race. Yeah,
and Simple Superman is pretty close to the back of the AlphaTauri of Mashiro. New fastest lap of the race for Hutari, so the AlphaTauri going pretty well. He's climbing just stretching into the DRS zone of Nightshades, but he fell back out of it, and Simply Superman is not phased by the back-to-back race winner of Monaco and Canada, and he gets the move done into Lecombe, forcing Mashiro down into P7. So Simply Superman doing his best to disturb the current flow of the top 6 and gets his McLaren into 6th place, as looks like Hutari just about getting his car back within DRS range, as Nightshades has fallen 1.1 seconds behind Roy Boy, so it's going to be crucial for Nightshades. Has he saved any more of that battery up to allow him to defend from the AlphaTauri of Hutari? If he hasn't, then he could find himself a sitting duck late on in the race, as Mashiro as well. If he wants to catch back up with his teammate and co, he's going to have to get this job done on the McLaren, but it's not going to be an easy move. He might even just settle for this battle for 6th, or maybe just save a little bit of fuel, save a bit of battery behind him for a couple of laps, and try and make an overtake late on into the race.
Yeah, absolutely. I have noticed, so the gap between Monster Blue and Beastas was 5.9 seconds on this lap, and it went down to 5.4 just going into the bus stop. So I don't know whether or not Monster Blue made a little mistake there, or he's just trying to look after his tyres. It looks like Beastas is just lapping that a little bit quicker over the last couple of laps on Monster Blue, so it'll be interesting to see if that gap keeps dropping down.
Yeah, and here comes Hotaro then. He's got a little bit of work to do if he's to get past that Red Bull on this occasion. About a half a second behind, as it looks like his teammates also even closer to the back of that McLaren, and I think he might get that job done as we're going board with Hotaro. He's getting very deep into the brakes, but he can't quite get the job done. Mashiro and Simply Superman side by side into lock on. Mashiro has the inside line and retakes P6, but of course now 5 seconds back from his teammates, so this battle really has costed him a real chance of fighting with the top 5. I think, well, I suppose realistically speaking, his front wing damage on the opening stint might have played that one for him, sadly, early on into the race, but I'm sure he'll be trying desperately to try and break the DRS range off this McLaren, and you can see how much the squabbling of defending off Hotari has held up Nightshades. He's now nearly 2 seconds back from Roy Boy, and Roy Boy 2 seconds back off Beastas, so Hotari could find himself still within a good shot of a podium despite being down in P5, because I don't think he's yet to pick up a time penalty, Scott. And we think Nightshades has got 3 seconds, Roy Boy has got 6. If he can keep it clean, he might not know it, but he could be sitting effectively in a third position seat right now.
Well, it says there are 2 warnings on lap 1 and then another warning on lap 11, so that should be a penalty if I'm correct. So he might have 1 3-second time penalty because he's got 3 warnings altogether. So I'm not too sure what's happening there. I'm not getting anything pop up.
Could be, one of them could be for contact. So I think you wouldn't get a penalty.
Could be, yeah, could be. Actually, yeah, you are right. Absolutely. So yeah, I'm not sure. I haven't had any penalty pop up, so I don't know who's got and who hasn't. I'm just trying to sort of set the race director. But yeah, like you say, if he keeps on with this pace, you know, Nightshades with 3 seconds. I think he's only got 3 seconds. And Roy Boy with 6. Like you said, he is on for a podium, which would be great for his championship. Bearing in mind that Mishiro's going to be down in 6th position as Hotaro goes for the move on Nightshades there, makes it nice and clean, no time loss either. Good move from Hotaro. He's got to see now if he can just sort of edge a bit of a gap there, bridge a gap and get going. But both Nightshades and Hotaro are pretty low on battery power. Yep,
and Mashiro and Simply Superman also swapping positions once again on that lap, and this time it's the McLaren making amends, and might come down to the last lap between those two, who has the run on the last lap coming into Le Con. But critical phase of the race now, Hotaro, not too long ago, set the fastest lap of the race, so he's clearly got pace in those medium tyres, but he's got 2.6 seconds to gain on Roy Boy. Of course, Roy Boy does have time penalties, but what can he do? Can he get the move done on track? He's already pulled out about 8-9 tenths on Nightshades, so in fact there we are, there is the second. Nightshade using more battery as ever, but look at that, he's only on 4% left. He's using whatever he's got to try and stick in his DRS range. He knows how crucial DRS is to his race, and he knows he can't afford to fall out of it, as possibly any indication of his tyres going off on lap 18. No doubt he's now set a new fast lap of the race, extending his gap to 6.4 seconds to Beastas, who's holding his own in P2 right now, and with those hard tyres, I'm sure well within their working lifespan, and I'm sure as late as it gets on into the race, I think he should be even more safe from the likes of Roy Boy and Hotari on those medium tyres. And looks like Nightshades might just have DRS. Yeah, he's got DRS just about for now, but there we are, 0 battery once again, so it's been a little bit heavy in terms of the battery usage around here. Looks like Mashiro does not get the job back done on Simply Superman despite DRS down into Le Con. So a little bit of a more spread up field now. We've got Speed Queen and Hulkenberger battling for P9, so battling for a couple of points. So a new fastest lap of the race pop up for I. Franklin, who's I think pitted again, so dropped behind the likes of Meg Lugby for P12 and P13. But Roy Boy just coming a little bit back to Beastas now. He's going 1.8 seconds, so it might have been a little bit of a sloppy lap here from the Ferrari driver. Hotari is not closing in on the Racing Point driver, so 3.1 seconds, so that's a bit of a gap, but he's not going to be wanting to extend any more than that, because if he does pick up a time penalty, Hotari, of course 3 seconds, that would only mean he'd have a 3 seconds difference, and he could find himself off the podium. So he's got to be quick and consistent, but if he is sitting on 2 track invalidation warnings, he knows that he can't afford to be overconfident.
Absolutely, yeah. He just needs to be sort of, like I said, calm, cool, and collected. But it looks like we're a bit spread out now. Monster Blue's pulling out sort of 2-3 tenths a lap. Roy Boy's just catching Beastas, but not by a lot. You'd have thought this sort of time in the race would be Beastas' sort of best time to sort of gain a bit of time and pull away from Roy Boy, but they're pretty evenly spread out now. Nightshade is sat sort of 9 tenths behind Hikari, but bless him, he's had 0 battery since lap 2, so he hasn't had to do a lot of overtaking. But a good drive from Nightshade. He hasn't, like we said before, he hasn't had the luck. He hasn't had, he hasn't really shown. He showed in some races that he's had the pace, but it's just the luck that's obviously overcome that. But today, he's shown that at one point before it sort of spread out through the pit stops and stuff, he was second. He was battling for sort of second, third, and fourth. So good drive from Nightshades. Good qualifying for him as well. And Roy Boy, I don't want to jinx him with 3.5 laps to go, but. Okay, he has picked up a couple of time penalties, but at least today he's had a good qualifying, and so far, touch wood, he has, he's driven well. He's been on the pace, and he has, the bad luck hasn't struck him.
No, and I think a driver who's particularly gone under the radar this race and not too much airtime, Mr. Steen, had a fantastic first lap. I think climbed from 10th right up to P8, in fact, where he is now. And he's really made that strategy work as another new fast lap of the race then for Monster Blue. He's absolutely flying. 7.1 second gap now to the Ferrari. It's been a dominant display so far this evening for Monster Blue. But Mr. Steen had a fantastic race so far. He's got a 5-second gap to Hulkenberger and Speedqueen. You'd imagine these two on new sets of softs would be reeling him in at a reel of knots, but they're sort of too busy squabbling each other right now. So that's doing the Haas driver just fine, who's sat 8.5 seconds back from the McLaren or Simply Superman, and he's done a real good job, has Mr. Steen this evening, and I'm sure he'll be looking to try and just bring home what will be 3 championship points for the Haas team. And we're seeing quite good results from both regular point scorers are the 2 Haas drivers. Haven't seen Ferocious stand in the past 2 races, sadly, but Mr. Steen has done a very good job, and coming back from a DNF in Canada, and looking like it could well be on to score some points. But Speedqueen is still enduring the rear wing of that Williams, and doesn't seem to have the straight line speed at all down that back straight, because even though she's quite comfortably within, half a second, 4 tenths between most of the lap to Hulkenberger, she can't get the overtake done.
No, she's been sort of sat behind Hulkenberger around about the half a second mark for quite a few laps. I did flick between them a couple of laps ago, and she seems to be a lot quicker going through sort of sector 2, so it might be that she's got a little bit more downforce having onto that car. As you can see now, she climbs onto the back of Hulkenberger, and I think once Hulkenberger sort of stretches his legs and gets the throttle down, it just pulls a couple of tenths out, which really doesn't help her going up through obviously over and down the straight. So you've got to try and pick a place to pass, line them up, and in my words, send an absolute dive bomb up the inside.
We'll see what Speedqueen does then into the bus stop through Blomstrom, and 2 tenths a second, so it could well be on. Speedqueen, does she feel brave? She's very low on battery, I've just noticed as well, so that could well be a reason for it. Is McLubby's crashed actually, I think, on the exit of turn, or going into turns 14, it looks like. He was racing alongside Frankland. There won't be a safety car now, just with 2 laps remaining. But it's another sad evening for McLuffy and the Red Bull. A real shame for him this evening. So it'll be another DNF for the McLaren driver. His second DNF of the season. It didn't finish in round 1, and of course got disqualified in Canada, sadly, for 2-minute time penalties. But here comes Speedqueen, a little bit closer this time round, trying to go around the outside. Hulkenberger defends it pretty nicely. You can see Hulkenberger doesn't quite have the same levels of grip, does he? As Speedqueen, so much better drive out the top of the hill. As I go down the hill, Hulkenberger goes deep into the brakes. Is this going to allow Speedqueen to come back down the inside? No, not quite. through No Name now. What about into Pouon? We saw Speedqueen get super close to the Williams on the exit of Pouon last lap. Can she get close enough to try and force a move into turns 12 and 13 on this occasion? She's using battery, so she's looking for it. The inside is open up. He's left it. He's going to break late. It's Hulkenberger, and he's going to defend the position once again. We're about to start the last lap. Monster Blue is on his last lap now, so time is running out then for the Alfa Romeo driver of Speedqueen. Bisas now fast lap of the race, so that'll be another point for him in his championship bid, and it's come at a crucial time. So he'd only be losing 2 points then to the Mercedes on Monster Blue in the championship. But more critically, he'd be gaining points on second place man Mashiro, who's only down in P6. But once again, running ball with Speedqueen, not quite fancying the inside line into bus stop. I'm sure just fancying the DRS down the Camel Straight a little bit more. You have DRS down the home straight, a little bit of battery on exit to get herself within about 3/10 of a second to Hulkenberger, as we come through the source, a wider line for Speedqueen, a bit of a tighter line for Hulkenberger, and the gap's opened up to about half a second. Have a little bit of a look. How much battery has Hulkenberger got? Not a great deal either. So they're both running on fumes, but a little bit of a good run out of Radion for Speedqueen as I Franklin comes into the pit lane as Simpson Superman on the last lap picks up a time penalty. He's sort of in a league of his own there in 7th place as Mashiro is catching up to the back of Nightshades, but he's going to run out of laps, it's looking like, and Speedqueen just trying to get into the mirrors of Hulkenberger, but he's not quite going to fall for it, as it looks like Monster Blue is about to come through the last sequence of corners, who is going to be claiming his 3rd win of the season. And we saw Mercedes take victory on Monday night in Spa, and it's going to be the Mercedes of Monster Blue this time on a Tuesday night here at Invictus, and he wins round 8 in Belgium.
I think he got a fast lap.
Bisas got fast lap, has he not?
Oh, sorry, no. Monster Blue pulled out like just over a second on Bisas, so I thought he might have gone for an absolute flying last lap to try and gain that point back off of Bisas, because he gained sort of 1.2 seconds going into the bus stop, so I thought he might have go for it.
And Roy Boy does fall off the podium with time penalties then, so it's Hutari who gains another podium, another 3rd place. That is his 5th 3rd place of the season, and a massive well done to the Haas driver, Mr. Steele. He's held off Hulkenberger and Speedqueen, and Hulkenberger, after a great fight between these two, comes home over the line, P9, Speedqueen P10. A great battle for pretty much the entirety of the race, really. Those two were fighting through the field on mediums against the front runners most of their first stint, and they're fighting each other for the second half stint. So even if they haven't got as many points as they would have liked, I'm sure they at least had a very fun evening. And Hulkenberger, driver of the day then, and Nightshades gets back-to-back 5th places. So he got his best result of the season in Canada, and he's matched that result this evening. And I think perhaps even better drive, Scott, in a way, because he really showed himself that he was he was maybe a little bit heavy-handed with the overtake button, but in terms of his pace, he was a lot closer to the guys in front of him.
Absolutely, yeah, exactly. I think he, he's just proved that he has got the pace to run at the front, and qualified near the front as well. So he could be one to look out for. If we get a couple of strong tracks to him in these last couple of rounds that we've got, I think he could show that he could get a podium here. Yeah,
it looks like it could be around the corner if it keeps on improving like he's been doing. But there we are then, a race win for Monster Blue, his 3rd of the season, and gets himself back on track, and Bisas fastest lap of the race, and P2 his 4th 2nd place in a row, and for the 2nd race in a row he's got fastest lap, so another point for him. Utari, as we were saying, his 5th 3rd place of the season, his 4th 3rd place in succession. Roy Boy would be disappointed to drop off the podium on penalties. Nightshades will be delighted with P5. Mashiro will be furious with Bisas after contact on lap 1 as they went side by side up a Rouge, and left the Japanese driver with wing damage. He fended off Simply Superman very well. Mr. C in a fantastic race. Hulkenberger did well from 12th. Speedqueen P10. SD Max finished just outside their points. I Franklin recovered to P12, and we sadly lost Minklabe and Soy Samuel. And we saw on the little graphic there, Hulkenberger driver of the day. Scott, who's the one who stood up for you then? Who would you say deserved it most?
He's done well, Hulkenberger, to be fair. Starting where he did, for him, his whole sort of race started in his own eyes probably poor, because you get into a zone before a race, he gets onto the grid and he's put sort of dead last. So all the emotions sort of start kicking in, but he kept us calm. He did do well. He did do some good overtakes. But my driver of the day, I can't choose it. Monster League done a great job again, but I'm going to say Nightshades.
Well, can't argue with that, and a massive well done, of course, to the podium. No post-race interviews tonight, sadly, but a massive well done to him, and he gets himself, he gets his championship right back on track, and gets himself 15 points for this evening, which boosts him up onto 85 points. B-Stas will get himself up onto 96, so 96 by 85. That is the difference between first and second. Mashiro, I believe, will fall behind his teammate after this evening, so possibly moving down to fourth position with the Japanese driver, and Speed Queen picks up 1 point. She's currently in a bit of a league of her own in fifth, and but a very good race, as you say, from Nightshades, boosts him up pretty close between himself and Simply Superman for the title or the position of sixth in the Drivers' Championship, and of course Roy Boy as well gave himself a nice handful of points for the Racing Point team. And it was a fantastic race. I think the top six as well were battling all throughout, and of course Simp Superman as well in the second stint really gave up a real good fight to Mashiro. Just couldn't quite fend it off all the way to the line, but some great racing there from all the drivers. Thank you so much for joining us, and of course if you enjoyed and can't wait for more, we are live once again on YouTube at 8 PM next Tuesday at the Hungaro Ring, live on YouTube. And of course if you want for the rest of the week, Wednesday night is F3, F4 and PC, all live on YouTube 8 PM. Thursday is Realistic Performance with Malc and Tim, all live on YouTube 8 PM. And of course the Xbox League on Sunday night at twitch.tv/Invictus Racing League. And of course Monday, F1 League by Gareth and Sab, 8 PM live on YouTube. And of course all our socials at Invictus Racing League for Instagram, at Invictus RL for Twitter. Find us on Facebook, and of course if you haven't already, click that subscribe button, give us a thumbs up if you enjoy the race, and we hope to see you again very, very soon. And yeah, have a very good evening. Goodbye.